What I'm doing is for everyone back home, and that makes me very proud.
Greetings all. So The Spaceman is not your average run-of-the-mill Hollywood movie designed for people with a 30-second attention span. It asks a lot more than that. It needs your attention, patience, thoughtfulness, and it delivers something unusual these days, which is an exploration into a human condition rather than a message or an heroic success.
I don't understand. Why commit to a promise if it can readily be broken?
The ending is inadequate, it's a failure, but we'll come to that. And it doesn't matter, which is very unusual. So, The Spaceman.
I just want to come home.
It's a #1 movie in Netflix in many countries and in the top 4 in most. And it does have that weak ending. So why is it so popular? Okay, so let's look at the story. The story is there's a new phenomenon in the sky at night, a kind of purple cloud, purple haze, if you will. And everybody wants to investigate what it is. So eventually, after 4 years, the two rivals are a Czech-led expedition, presumably in partnership with the European Space Agency, and the South Koreans for some reason, heading to get there first. We don't know what happens to the Americans. I don't think that's even mentioned in the film, but for some reason they're not there. So it's down to the Czechs and the Koreans. And our man is the solo guy, the one guy on the Czech expedition. It's not explained why he has to be by himself. Maybe resources, but he's by himself, and he's been out there for 6 months to get to this purple cloud in the sky, which is close to Jupiter. It's further than any human being has traveled before.
On behalf of the Eurospace program, 189 days into your solo journey.
Now he is neglecting his pregnant wife, who's back home. And this is not the first time he's done it because of his career. Obviously, you need a lot of commitment to be a country's top astronaut, but she's had enough and she leaves a message. They've developed a faster than light communication system. It's not technically possible right now, but anyway, to meet the requirements of the story so they can communicate. And she's left him a video message saying that she's had enough and she's dumping him, she's breaking up with him, divorcing him. And she's going off to have the baby somewhere else. The space agency, not wanting to upset him, has of course suspended that message. They haven't allowed that message to go through to him, so he doesn't know. So our hero, Jakob, he is possibly breaking up, possibly suffering. It doesn't appear to be initially, but possibly suffering from the strains of all this time alone. And there appears a spider-like creature on the spaceship who is able to speak with him and is curious about his actions, particularly why he's going so far away from the rest of humanity and his pregnant wife.
Do not be afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
And the creature is very calm, but when Jakob doesn't communicate, doesn't allow the creature an intimate knowledge of what's going on in his head, it disappears. And that leaves Jakob very lonely, having not had a companion before, and eventually comes back, and then they discuss more. And they very carefully lead Jakob through an exploration of his life, the issues with his father, who was a well-meaning but bad man, and the relationship with his wife. And you can imagine what kind of woman is able to attract and complement a very hard-driven, analytical and self-disciplined man capable of being an astronaut. And it's very delicately developed, this relationship. So what they most explore is, why is Jakob working so hard and has tried so diligently to be on a mission to take him so far away from what he actually really wants in life? And that's what the spider creature, whom he calls Hanush, doesn't understand. And who hasn't done this? Especially men. I'm not saying women can't do it as well, but especially men. We get focused on something that we think is what our spouses want, possibly without even asking them properly. Career, something that, an occupation that involves lots of travel, and we end up traveling further away from the person that we've been trying to do all this for.
I don't have any answers for you.
So what's great about the movie is that they don't dramatize this, they don't spoon feed you. It's a very gentle exploration of that issue, which doesn't get your back up. It doesn't set you on your back foot. It doesn't push you away. It gently leads you into considering it and thinking, oh yeah, now I see what's going on. I see why he's doing that. And oh, maybe have I done that in my life? It becomes personal. It draws you in because of the way they do it. So the movie works despite problems, particularly in the construction and some plot holes, such as when Janusz leaves the Czech spaceship to go and investigate the purple cloud by himself, which is basically all of time and life and choices and experiences in one place. Jakob goes out of the spaceship in his spaceship on a spacewalk to try and fetch him back, rescue him. It doesn't make sense given that Janusz has been able to enter and leave the spacecraft several times by himself. So that would lead you to the discussion of as to whether Jakob is cracking up, going insane, and is Janusz real or not. Now that's not explained. Apparently in the book it's clearer.
You wish to know if I am real. I am like you.
But in the movie it's very much left up to you to interpret it, which is nice. Some people might be irritated if they want the certainty of knowing, but otherwise it fits with the way that they stylized this movie and the tone, the feel of the movie, which is very much gentle exploration. So as the movie goes on and we learn about Jakob from his kind of quite cynical, hard exterior personality to begin with, we learn about his childhood, about his father, why he developed the way that he did. And it's in this post-Soviet era in Czechoslovakia, and that has its own pathos and sadness about what those people had to endure for decades after the Second World War. And that lends itself very well to the way that his upbringing is discussed and how his personality becomes the way that it is. Now, as I said, going back to the ending is very weak. The second half of the third act, if you like, the resolution is all kind of cobbled together and it doesn't really work very well. It's a bit Deus Ex Machina, especially when Jakob, the hero, emerges from the cloud, and he could be anywhere in the whole solar system, and suddenly he's right next to the South Korean spaceship which has just arrived, and they rescue him. It's very contrived, by which time he has already managed to send a message to his wife, realizing his mistakes, apologizing, and essentially asking for a second chance, which she appears to be willing to give him. So I thought initially, okay, he must be dead, and this is a dying fantasy or something, but that seems to be the ending. And it just doesn't make any sense, especially going back to when Janusz leaves the spaceship, which is why Jakob goes outside. But that's the interesting bit about this film. It doesn't matter. The film is a gentle exploration of a person, their upbringing, their role models, what they decide to do with their life, and how they screw up the relationship with the most important person in it. And what it does is it leaves you with a feeling of having been on a journey with somebody, gained a deep understanding of them, and probably, if you take the time to think about it, an insight into yourself.
I just want to come home.
And possibly it offers opportunity for greater self-awareness and self-understanding. And that's rare. That you don't often get that from a modern movie. So that's why I think The Spaceman is doing really well. I didn't think it would, because I didn't think most modern viewers would put the time and the effort into this movie, but it seems like they're willing to do so. And it's been billed featuring the line when the little kid asks Janusz, does he feel he's the most lonely person in the galaxy, or the universe, the young girl says. And I think that will put a lot of people off. But it seems like it hasn't, because it's really popular on Netflix. It's not quite there, but I have to say that after Uncut Gems, this is where we see Adam Sandler is really becoming an extremely good actor. I think he's been through a few things in his life. It certainly appears that way. And given the right script in the future and the right director, I think he's going to win an Oscar one day. And this film is an indication that he can do it. So it's well worth a watch. Give it a go.
You go where I go, and I go where you go.
I just want